Information is from interpretive signs set alongside the trail at the Hudson Meng Education and Research Center. Welcome to the Hudson Meng Education and Research Center. Thousands of years ago, something drew ancient bison here. How did hundreds of bison antiques come to rest in such a small area? Archaeological teams and curious visitors have studied the site since its discovery in 1954. Perhaps these ardent bison were hunted by Paleo-Indians, or maybe they died in a fire, flood, or other natural event. Many unanswered questions are debated at the bone bed. Researchers carefully excavate and record all evidence in the hopes of piecing together the answers. Visit Hudson Meng to see an archaeological excavation and learn about ongoing research. Interpretive exhibits and seasonally available guided tours are offered to help you further develop your own theories. What is out there? Portions remain unexcavated, but researchers estimate the entire bone is about the size of a football field. Archaeologists have been excavating and researching on and around this site since the 1970s. While a great deal has been discovered, there are many mysteries left to solve, and there are more questions than answers. The bison bone contains some skeletons still in their death pose, while most are a jumble of scattered bones, leading to the question who or what killed the bison? Bison antiques were a larger ancestor of modern bison, bison. Mature bison amicus male stood at least 1 to 2 feet taller than modern bison at the hump and sported horns 3 feet from tip to tip. During the first excavation in the L970s, Dr. Larry Agenbrod recognized that the fossilized bison were slightly smaller than most bison antiques, leading him to believe these bison were in the process of evolving from bison antiquus to bison. As you walk the remainder of the 1/8 mile trail to the Hudson Meng Education and Research Center, you are walking on the dam, which is rifled with fossilized bison remains. History belongs to us all. Help keep our cultural heritage intact. Leave historic and archaeological sites as you find them. If you find artifacts, please take a photo, note the location, and contact Nebraska National Forests and Grasslands. The future of this site, and others like it, depends on our actions today. Hundreds of bison antiquus mysteriously died in a small area on this vast prairie, leaving their bones behind. There is evidence of prehistoric people visiting as well. The research enclosure, similar in design to an airplane hangar, covers an exposed portion of the bone. Hudson Meng Bison Kill Site was designated a National Historic Site on August 28, 1973. This site was first excavated by Chadron State College in 1971 and has been recognized as possessing exceptional value in the study of Paleomen from 10,000 years ago. Heroes of Preservation and Persistence. In the early 1950s, several bones were discovered when the USDA Soil Conservation Service was building this dam. Construction halted. Local investigators determined that the bones were most likely from domestic livestock, probably either sheep or cattle. The dam project resumed, even using some of the bone as fill material. A local rancher, Albert Meng, and amateur archaeologist, Bill Hudson, believed there might be more to it. Hudson and Meng continued to enlist professional help in identifying the bones. In 1968, Dr. Larry Agenbrod, professor of earth science at Chakloran State College, recognized the prehistoric bison bones. Subsequent investigations revealed human activity at the site and dated it to 9,800 years ago. Excavations continued through 1977. In 1991, the bone was reopened, and efforts began to preserve it for research and public education. Today, the Hudson Meng Education and Research Center has received international acclaim and hosts scientists and visitors from around the world. Everything leaves records. We are all leaving a record of our actions. 6,000 years ago, the Great Plains were in the grip of a 2,500-year-old drought. Rainfall was scarce, and the Nebraska sandhills were much like the Serengeti Plains today. Most people and animals abandoned the area in their struggle to survive. Wet soil conditions preserve fossils and artifacts. Fossils can be formed when animals are buried in mud or volcanic ash, but that didn't happen here. Instead, bones of the ancient bison were covered with wind-blown dust, uncovered at times, then permanently buried. Minerals from the alkaline rocks around the bones seeped into them through groundwater, replacing the organic material and transforming bones into fossils. Pollen, seeds, and human artifacts are constantly being buried, leaving evidence of today's climate and culture. Recent construction has unearthed items from the homestead period that have been buried since the early 1900s. Under the pond, the garden of the early pioneers is preserved in layers of silt. Natural spring. The landscape at Hudson Meng plays an important role in the site's history. Changes in the coarseness of rock formations in the hills above the pond prevent rainwater from flowing downward, forcing it to flow out of the hillside as a perennial spring. Archaeological sites cluster near springs like this one along the northern slopes of the Pine Ridge, indicating that people have been drawn to dependable water sources throughout history. The constantly flowing water washed away soil and rock and exposed ancient bones near the surface, where they were found by Albert Meng. Water movement also shaped the hills themselves, creating natural lookout points and valleys. According to Dr. Agenbrod at the Hudson Meng site may, in fact, be the result of the caymans of natural trap, animals, and hunters. Understanding the past. 10,000 years ago, the landscape here looked much as it does today, with taller grasses and mere shrubs. Native people were nomadic and lived in extended family groups. These big game hunters pursued bison with sophisticated stone-tipped weapons. A place of refuge on the prairie. Imagine these lands 10,000 years ago. The prairie was as far as the eye could see, with few places like this spring-fed draw. Bison, other wildlife, and people relied on its water and the plants growing here. How do we know who was here? Scientists rely on artifacts, including bones and stone tools, to identify materials and techniques used by humans thousands of years ago. Spear points found here were made between 8 to 10,000 years ago. Recently discovered artifacts provide evidence that at least 3 nomadic cultures inhabited this place. Treasures from the land. Scientists use pollen and seeds found in context with artifacts or wildlife remains to determine what type of plants grew here. This evidence gives clues about what the local environment was like thousands of years ago. Humans at this site used many types of plants for different purposes, including medicine, cooking spices, and food preservation. Some of those plants still grow here today. Wild onion was eaten and made into tea as a painkiller. It was considered a treatment for a variety of ailments, including toothaches, coughs, colds, sore throats, nausea, and snake bites. Prairie turnip. This plant, which the Lakota called tyrmsel, was an important source of vitamin C in their meat-rich winter diet. It was peeled and cooked when fresh, or dried and ground into a flour-like substance for baking and porridge. Wild mint. Mint was consumed as tea, but a more important use was as a preservative. Mint can be layered between meats or fats to help prevent spoilage during transport or for preservation in wintertime. Most recently, homesteaders settled near the spring, living on its water through the 1930s after a streak of bad luck, inducing prairie fires, The Nance family left the area and the land was purchased by the federal government. The land is now part of the Oglala National Grassland.